Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is responsiveness and responsiveness rather than reactivity. And we get to look at what it takes to allow ourselves to be present in a given circumstance and thereby access our resourcefulness. So I'm looking forward to this conversation this morning. Good morning, Rosalind. Welcome. Great to have you here with us this morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Before we get started, let's take a couple minutes to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And this time, imagine brilliant, bright light lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all cells, all your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together to feel the friction, the pressure, the temperature, the motion, and the tickling and tingling when you stop. And allow all those sensations to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So I had a bit of an adventure this morning. The setup for this live broadcast goes through an application called Restream. And typically there is a meeting that is set up that's a repeating meeting, and all I need to do is press a button and put in some information and turn on Zoom. And then when I get into Zoom, I just say, okay, let's live stream. Well, this morning, the button that that's normally there to start the meeting from Restream was gone. And I don't actually have practice setting up the streaming. And and I also didn't have much time, as it was, I ran over just a tiny bit to be here late, but I was able to figure it out. And the thing is that the reason that I was able to figure it out is because I stayed present to what was, rather than letting myself get into a panic or a story about what would happen if I couldn't figure it out, or a story about, I don't know what I'm doing here, I don't know how to do this. All I did was look at it, like to be present right there. And I even had the opportunity to do a little bit of research online, and all of this in the space of maybe 5 minutes, 7 minutes to do that and write the description for this morning. So this is coming up because it actually came up yesterday with another client, where we had an issue where my computer shut down in the middle of a session that we were doing, and I couldn't get back to Zoom. And this person was talking about managing panic around unexpected occurrences. And here we just sort of systematically went through and saw what we could figure out to make it work. And again, there was no panic, there was no upset. It was just, okay, now what? And so I'm not speaking about this to elevate myself in any way, like, oh, well, I didn't, not like that. It's more like, what is it that allowed me not to panic? And how is it that we create panic? What allowed me to be responsive rather than reactive? And I'm looking at that because I think that that's a really valuable thing for us to be able to access is, excuse me, this resourcefulness, this responsiveness, and where that comes from is a place of presence. So what it means is not indulging in the conversation, the internal conversation of, oh my God, what's going to happen if I can't do this, or I don't know how, or what kind of crises are going to occur if I don't figure this out? Because all of that stuff pulls us out of the present, pulls us out of being able to be responsive to the circumstances or the situation that we're in. And so cultivating this place of presence is key to our ability to respond rather than react, to be in the moment, because when we are in the moment, we're actually present to, we have an awareness of what is presenting itself to us, and we're in a much more resourceful state, right? Than if we're indulging in these stories about what if, or oh my God, what's going to happen if, because when we're in that state, when we're in the state of panic, when we're in the state of reactivity, activation, panic, anxiety, we're less able to see what's there and to see the opportunities that are there, to see the information that's there, and to respond accordingly, to interact accordingly. So the question is, how do we access that space? How do we be in that space of presence? Because that is the key. That is the key actually to living. That is the key to dancing with life, right? If you've ever danced with somebody, well, as a woman, I've danced with people that know how to lead, right? And so there's a responsiveness to that lead, to that direction. It's kind of like, oh, this is one of my new favorite expressions, like a feather on a stream, or the feather finds the current. And if we're resisting, if we're projecting into the future, we're not able to be present, just by definition, to what the current circumstance requires. And so, again, coming back around, how do we get there? How do we be in that space? a lot of us have a tendency to go off into what if, what if, what if. And what we get to do is to breathe. Breathing is such an incredibly powerful centering technique, or resource, skill, whatever, is just breathing into present, coming back, calming yourself. Here I am, now what? The anxiety comes from the underlying dialogue or monologue about, I don't know how to do this. What if I can't? What are people going to think? What are people going to say? What are the consequences? Oh my gosh, oh my gosh, oh my gosh. You know, what is it? What have you found in your life that you have been able to practice that allows you to moderate that kind of reactivity? So we're talking about being able to respond rather than react, and or interact rather than react even. It's so much the case that everything comes back to presence, doesn't it? That the more present we can be, the more we're actually living our life in the moment, living the life that's here rather than living out of the past or living into the future, where we can be in this moment and all of its opportunities. And I'm going to go off a little bit on a tangent around opportunity, because every moment, even moments that feel devastating, even situations that seem to be going radically awry, provide an opportunity. And it's not always that we have the resourcefulness to be able to recognize the opportunity in a moment. But when we are present, we have a greater capacity, a greater potential to recognize that opportunity. So I was talking with somebody yesterday who is doing some downsizing in their company. And the way that they were looking at it is that it was a place of contraction, because they were losing some major clients and they were kind of focusing on the loss of the major clients. And trying to moderate their reaction to that by saying it's not really a bad thing, we'll have to do this, we'll be okay. We were okay before we had grown to this place. But all of that was kind of a justification rather than looking at, well, what kind of opportunity does this reconfiguration provide? Because this person has been really deeply evaluating what their desires are for their life, how they're wanting to change their life and simplify their life. And the downsizing of the company allows for a little bit more flexibility, a little bit more fluidity, because there are less moving parts to have to contend with. And So there's an opportunity for more restructuring and more adaptation and modification and sculpting a new structure for the company that the larger footprint would not really have allowed. So what looked tragic in a certain respect, even though they were trying to mitigate that, also provides an opening for possibilities that weren't there previously. I actually saw this with another person's company where they had a nonprofit and they were in a fiscal position where they had to let everybody go, all the employees except for the main person. And it was sad, and there was a lot of emotion and sorrowful goodbyes. And what happened as a result was that the person whose nonprofit it was able to break out and thrive and create new structures and more freedom in their own lives, and it actually helped the nonprofit too, because it wasn't as chunky an organization. It could adapt more readily and take advantage of all kinds of opportunities that hadn't been there before. So another situation was with a person who was experiencing a great amount of friction through work, so much so that they determined that they actually made a choice that to follow a dream that they hadn't been allowing themselves to pursue because they were enmeshed in work. And the work situation became untenable. It had to be so extreme that they really felt like they had no choice but to leave, and they are pursuing their dream for their life. So when we talk about responsiveness, we have the advantage of a broader perspective. We can see the possibilities more readily because, in fact, we're in that moment of presence. Oh, wow. So Rosalind says, my Facebook is not streaming live very well, so trying to watch on YouTube. So, I don't know if I did it right. It looks like I might have done it right because it looks like it looks like it showed up on Facebook. Whoops. Watch on YouTube. I think I might have. Yeah, so apparently it is streaming on Facebook, but so I set it up right, which is kind of a miracle. But I don't know if it's because my connection is poor. But anyway, there's a resourcefulness. Hello, Ronilo. I hope I pronounced your name right. Welcome, welcome. It's great to have you joining us this morning. We're talking today about responsiveness and being able to find a place of presence so that we are able to respond to the demands of the moment rather than react. To be able to bring the full attention of our being into that moment so that we can be present to the opportunities that are available to us. And so one way that we've talked about accessing this place of presence and thereby an ability to be responsive is through breathing, to also not indulge in the conversations about what if, to just be in this moment. And if we're going to do what if, instead of what if I can't, maybe we could indulge ourselves to entertain what if I can? What if I have what I need to deal with this situation? And what if I can just do one step at a time and figure it out? What if, this is the best what if life is happening for me and through me rather than to me? What if I'm not a victim? What if life is happening for me? What if this is an opportunity? Those are what ifs that support us in our greater expression, rather than what if the sky is falling? What if the negative kinds of things that we often entertain? So by moderating our internal dialogue, by presencing ourselves, oftentimes it's a matter of slowing down. So we often feel like, oh my gosh, there's no time, I'd have no time. And so we get into a panic and we race around like crazy people, and that panic makes us less effective. And in fact, in those moments, we're better served by actually just slowing down, allowing ourselves to take a breath, even if it seems like I don't have time to do this. Take a breath, slow down, be present. That will allow you to see what the next step ought to be. Learning how to take our time is an important thing. Learning how to pause, because we can get so absorbed in this mad rush to production. We forget to breathe. Our heart starts racing. We're telling ourselves all these awful things. We're saying we don't have time, rather than slowing down and expanding time. We actually do have the ability to expand time. I don't know if you've experienced it. I've had moments where it's just the weirdest thing, where I've gotten somewhere before I should. I shouldn't have had time to get somewhere, and I've made it on time. And it's through this expanding time. It's through being present in a very different way, and connecting to the relativity of time. So Rosalind says, something that comes to mind is when I was criticized, when a person's making me out to be a villain, I felt like I didn't have to validate myself. I know who I am. I don't need to explain myself. That's awesome, Rosalind. Sometimes if people are making you out to be a villain, there's nothing you can say or do that's going to change their opinion. And it's not your job to. And beautiful for you that knowing yourself, that is presence and responsiveness. But being able to be present, sometimes in that kind of situation, maybe it means don't respond. Maybe it means don't even try to engage in defending yourself, because it's not going to make a difference. There are situations where the best response is no response. So good on you to know who you are and know that you don't need to defend yourself. And then there are other times where clarification can be beneficial. So as you're present, as you're being responsive, you can determine what is the best response. How do we best respond to this? So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection. I go live here each weekday morning on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And it is my pleasure. Oh, excuse me. Hello, Irina. Welcome. So good to have you join us. It is my pleasure and always a privilege to have this opportunity to chat with you and to discover new ways of thinking and being. And until next time, so much love to you.